you've heard what Stephen has said about the Sunderland Partnership and how complicated the whole thing is, and how necessary it was for the network to relook at what we do and how we do it, in order not only to fit in, but also to make a very positive contribution to the future, because we are partners and it is about partnership. And in order to demonstrate that we are effective partners, we need to have an effective structure ourselves to be able to deliver what we say we can deliver and what we are going to deliver. One of the things that we've struggled with in the past is that we've tried to be all things to all people, and of course that hasn't worked. We have to acknowledge that our ability to provide 3 delegates to every level of the local strategic partnership hasn't been effective. It hasn't delivered what we said we were going to deliver, and we weren't always speaking with the voice that we should be. So what we are proposing is, well, you do have 2 choices. I'm going to put the second choice to you later on, but the first choice is around a new structure for the Sunderland network. And with the chart that you've got, you can see that the network is in the middle, because communication is going to be absolutely the key to the future. That network in the middle is there to get information in and to pass information out, and to be an effective communicator so that we can represent truly the voice of the voluntary and community sector in Sunderland. And that is not an easy task. We intend to be able to create connections to every aspect in that chart, whether it be the area arrangements, and I'll talk about those in a little while, the things that Stephen's talked about all throughout the local strategic partnership structure, to create connections and to be able to, as I say, communicate and get a two-way flow of information, because that is absolutely key to the whole thing being successful. We will provide delegates to the thematic groups, the Development and Strategic Board, as well as the Inclusive Communities group from that central network. And we will engage with all the others. Now, one of the things that we've said in the past is that any member of the network can be on any level of the local strategic partnership. And that's one of the things that's failed us, ladies and gentlemen. It's not criticising any individual or any group, but it hasn't been really effective in the way that it's worked. So what we've done is, in the papers that we've given you, is try to illustrate how you can make a choice. You can decide at what level you want to be involved with the network. And we hope that you will be involved. That we still have a membership of the network, we still intend to build that membership, we still want people to join. But you will be able to choose, because the new area arrangements will give you much more choice. And what we see as a way forward is that if you live in, we'll use Washington as an area, if you live in Washington and you want to contribute to things that are happening in that area, if you represent a local community association, for example, then in order to get your voice heard and to make the contribution that you want to make, it may well be most appropriate that you engage in the new area arrangements with the Washington Forum, or Washington Pride, whatever it's going to be in the Washington area. The issues that you raise there will be fed through to the network hub in the centre, and then what we can do is collate those issues. So for example, if transport is a problem in Washington, a particular issue about transport, and then that same issue comes up from different groups around the city, then that can be taken forward as an issue to the appropriate strategic partnership group or thematic group, and then, if need be, elevated to the board. So it's a way of filtering information, it's a way of engaging everyone, but recognising that not everybody needs to be on one of these thematic groups or on the board or the development group. So it's a way that we feel that we can effectively help people to get their voices heard, and equally important as well is that anything that comes down from these thematic groups is filtered out to the area forums as well, because it's only by communicating with each other that we will be able to get the real situation and devise position statements for the voluntary and community sector in Sunderland, which we will use in the Sunderland Partnership. We also aim that the network will be able to act as the voice of the voluntary community sector with the LSP, and also demonstrate to the partners of the Sunderland Partnership that we can actually bring something to the table. We can actually engage with people. We can actually help them through their engagement, consultation and involvement processes to fulfill their needs. And that's going to be a very important part of the whole thing in the future as well. And it's also very important as well that the network acts as an advocate for the voluntary and community sector. That if there are issues affecting us all, that we are able to go to the partnership and say, look, this is an issue, you know, it's a problem, it's something that, what can you do about it? How can we work together to get over that particular issue? So that's the sort of intentions that we have to go forward in the future. We've previously had 3 delegates on each level, as I mentioned before. We see that that isn't a realistic possibility in the future, and the suggestion is that we have 1 delegate and 1 substitute, 1 shadow, whatever we care to call them, on some of these areas. And that all those delegates come together to form that network group in the middle. And you'll see in the paper that it describes 26, a number of 26, as being the core network group who will take issues forward and who will be responsible. If you sign up to being a member of one of the thematic groups or the board or whatever it may be, you will actually have a role description and you will have a responsibility to communicate. It won't be acceptable that you don't turn up and you don't tell anybody. It won't be acceptable that you get the information and you keep it to yourself. It is going to be something which is going to be monitored, and you are going to have to be very proactive in making sure that that communication is achieved. Because again, I will emphasise, communication is going to be the key to this whole exercise. So we see things going forward in that way, with the network playing a very real and a very important role in supporting the Sunderland Partnership to meet all the local area agreement targets and the other elements that Stephen's talked about, to do things, you know, that Ailsa was talking about being delivery agents as well, by saying that we do have something to offer. We do have opinions and ideas that if we are listened to, if we are treated as equal partners, we can actually make a real difference for the people in Sunderland. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about. We're all here within our particular groups to do something for either a particular section of the community in Sunderland or for general sections of the community. And we can improve what we do by working together. We know that. What we need to make sure is that we have an effective and efficient structure that enables us to really engage with other partners, and that they value that engagement and the commitment and the contribution that we can make. Rob has produced a chart which demonstrates very simply how this might work in practice, so that if there is an issue of concern at the community or neighbourhood level, an individual or a voluntary community sector group, then they might take it to a particular forum. And then that will be filtered, because there will be a representative from each of the forums on the network group, the core group. That will be brought forward to that steering group in the centre, and whatever the issue is, it could, for example, go to the learning thematic group and be taken forward there, and if need be, elevated to the Sunderland Partnership Board. And what we've got to remember is that this is a two-way flow. It isn't an easy structure, it isn't an easy process, and I think that, you know, the complexity of what the Sunderland Partnership has demonstrates that. What we are trying to do is to bring some clarity to the situation. We are going to stop trying to be all things to all people. We are going to concentrate on what we are and what we're going to do as the network in the middle, filtering information out and collecting information and using that information in a very positive way to represent the VCS, to, you know, produce position statements, to engage with the people that we work with, and to make sure that their views are heard as well in a very important way. And we are going to do it with a much leaner structure. We're going to have a much smaller group in the middle, but we will still have a wider membership, and we will be engaging with other groups, other networks, such as the Local Involvement in Health Network, the Pentagon Partnership, the BME Network, Community Development Exchange, those sorts of things, and other, you know, as Stephen's chart shows, other significant partnerships in cross-cutting issues. The aim is to talk to everybody, to engage everybody, and to make sure that the voluntary community sector in Sunderland